Hi there. I'm in Chiang Mai resting during the Chinese New Year. Well, not really resting because I've been very busy with that stuff regarding the geographic indication, and I feel that it's getting some traction in the village. But yesterday I got to think about another another aspect of faking, and that faking is the faking of HT. So very often you will see teas that claim to be from the 1950s, 1960s, which will fetch very high prices. And when you're ready to pay $10,000 for a cake, I guess you want it to be the real stuff, right? Now it got me thinking, like, how can we certify the age of a tea? And I thought of one method. That would be radiocarbon dating. Now I know what you're going to say. Radiocarbon dating is used to date things that are from 1,000 to 50,000 years old. Why? Because it relies on the radioactive decay of the carbon 14. There are two kinds of carbon. You have carbon 12, which is the most common type of carbon, and 1 in a trillion atom is a carbon 14. It became a carbon 14, before it was a nitrogen 14, and then it got bombarded by cosmic rays in the upper atmosphere, and that's how it became a carbon 14. Okay, and after a while it will become again nitrogen 14. The half-life of carbon 14 is 5,730 years. It means that, let's say you put 100 carbon 14 in a box. If you wait for 5,730 years and come back, look in the box, you will see that you only have 50 of them left. And the pace of decay is quite stable. It's actually very stable as far as I know. So it's an accurate method for dating things, as long as you can measure how much carbon 14 there is, how much radioactivity you have. And the problem is, if you have a very young stuff, like a relatively young stuff, like a supposedly 50 years old Pu-erh tea, then maybe there won't be enough radioactive decay to be able to measure that. Like, you won't be able to date because your tools are not accurate enough to get that kind of measuring. But I learned a new stuff yesterday, and I was very happy. Um, I can tell you that nuclear testing can have some positive effects. Well, actually, so in the 1950s, 1960s, there were a lot of atomic bombs being exploded in the atmosphere, and in the conditions of nuclear explosion, you actually get the same kind of process that happens in the upper atmosphere. You have a creation of carbon 14 with every nuclear explosion, which means that uh, the quantity of the ratio, the carbon 12 to carbon 14 ratio in the atmosphere has changed um, since the time they started the nuclear testings. And so it's a very interesting piece of information, because it means that if you had a leaf growing in the 1960s, well, at that time there was double the concentration of carbon 14 in the atmosphere. So instead of having 1 in a trillion, that is carbon 14, 1 carbon in a trillion, that's carbon 14, you had 2 in a trillion. And that's great news, because it means you don't need to rely on the radioactive decay, which your tools aren't accurate enough to measure on such a short time span. But instead, you can rely on the variation of carbon 12 to 14 ratio in the atmosphere. And now the ratio is getting back to normal for two reasons. One, there's been more and more CO2 that's been emitted in the atmosphere because we're burning fossil fuels. And those fossil fuels, well, they are very old. They basically don't have any significant amount of carbon 14 in them because, like the petrol, the oil is maybe millions of years old, and so all of the carbon 14 has decayed. I say again that the half-life of carbon 14 is 5,730 years. Okay, so if you release a lot of that fossil fuel in the atmosphere, of course you're gonna dilute the the carbon 14 content, right? And another parameter is that there's a carbon cycle, so the carbon in the atmosphere doesn't stay there forever, and it's gonna get reabsorbed by captured by plants. So a part of that carbon 14 is also in the plants now. So that's why the ratio is diminishing. And so it means that nowadays it will be hard to use that difference because we can say it's back to normal just like 100 years ago. But you have that period during which the nuclear testings were done between 1950 and the late 60s. After that, they were banned, where you have that variation. So you can know in each year you have a specific ratio. So there's a peak, actually. You can look on this graph. There's a peak. So for some dates, you will, if you do one measurement, you might have to choose between two dates. But the thing is, we can accurately date stuff that were from the 50s on with the carbon 14 measuring. And I think that's breakthrough knowledge for me. I'm very happy to have discovered that. And I think if you're in the radiocarbon dating business, don't serve the archaeologist anymore. I'm sure you'll find Pu-erh enthusiasts who will be willing to pay the fee for radiocarbon testing. It should be, the price should be in about a couple $100 probably. And the good thing is you only need a very tiny sample. I've heard like it can be done with as few as 1 milligram of sample. So you don't need to spend a lot of your tea to do that testing. And of course, if you can guarantee the age of the tea in this way, I guess that you can get a premium on your old tea because it will have a scientific guarantee. And now my question is, why is it not done for now? It can even be done for wine because there's carbon inside the wine that we can test. And so, yeah, why is it not done more? I think it would be a great tool, and it's not that expensive, quite the same cost as a pesticide analysis. And I think that would bring a lot more clarity to the HT market, and we'd see the price of HT increase even more because you would have that guarantee. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I was happy to share this idea with you, and I'm gonna keep walking in the tea garden. Bye bye.